philosophy in handling on looking at an HROs on a specific, will not generate a result. People will do the difference. It's obviously clear we are in this golden era in our blessed kingdom. It's valuable, I think, or obsolete 21st century skills is so big to play a major role in leading this changes in the Saudi labor market, which is very dynamic and challenging and interesting to work on that, to be honest with you. We always discovering, and with the match of the two agility, the public sector agility is becoming more high and more competitive and more challenging in leading that change, which driving also the private sector to come up with this driving agility and try to develop more and more to sustain growth and achieving our country visions.
Hello and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Human Capital Uncovered. Chat with Hayfa. I'm your host, Hayfa Abu Zabiba, and today we're diving deep into a world of human capital. We're uncovering the hidden gems and untapped potential and the transformative power of investing in people. We have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Man Fatani, who's a renowned expert in the field. He's a chartered FCIPD board member, C-suite executive, and the Group VP of HR and Shared Services at MEPCO, which is the Middle East paper company. He's an accomplished HR professional and business leader with an extensive experience in leading and driving transformation from the top of corporate ladder to the execution level on the front line. He has hands-on experience with business performance, strategic planning, organizational development, talent acquisition, compensation and benefits, and employee relations, and has a proven 20-plus years in various industries in different size of companies, including healthcare, FMCG, building materials, oil and gas, paperboard production, and waste management. So sit back, tune in, and get ready to discover the true value of human capital. Welcome.
Hi, Hayfa.
Could you tell us about who you are and what was it in the early years that helped you become the success you are today?
Okay. First, thank you for having me today. I'm for an exciting discussion and fruitful discussion for the audience. But in the early days, when I recall back, it all depends on our definition of success, how we look at success and how we view our success. Success is the ultimate desire that every human being that looking forward to have and to reach, and how we could achieve this success is different. But the definition of success itself, it varies between all individuals. Education, growth, business, relationship, etc. You name it, But no matter what is your definition and what is in the state of mind for you as a success, the ultimate answer is preparation. We need to get well prepared for that success. So I think was in the early days, I would always say I'm an HR passionate, so the passion is always a key driver in doing things. If you look at a passion as a driven, take a history, for example. If you see people from Steve Jobs, Michael Bloomberg to Beethoven, they were all driven by passion toward a word of success. So when we think of a self-made mindset, that's something very important to consider as a key things to achieve success and growth. Our ability to program our mind to learn and having learning agile mindset. That's something very important. So it was at the beginning, I think this was a key things that helped me to sustain and grow and keep going. I'm always considering myself in the way of learning. I'm in the mood of learning, and it's a continuous. So there is no ever end in that regard. So this is, I think, was a key driver to help me to keep going on generating more success.
Very true. Agility and the willingness to always be on the mode of learning is very important for numerous successful people, if not all of them. So to fully agree with you. It would be also good maybe to provide an overview of your role as a Chief Human Capital Officer and your key responsibilities in your organization.
Yes. I'm taking care of the human capital and IT as well, and technology, so I'm taking care of the partnership between technology, the machines, IT, and people, the two elements that will drive a high-performance culture, will generate a high-performance culture. So these two pillars I'm working in heavily to have this kind of a partnership between the two pillars of IT and peoples. So in that rules, I have a philosophy in handling on looking at an HR on a specific, I'm a strategic business partner, strategy enabler, and employee champion. HR has to be an employee champion, okay? And at the same time, a change agent who will lead a change in the organizations, who will initiate a change, who will drive a change in the organization, taking the initiatives, taking the things into a different dimension, to a different levels, upgrading skills of the organization in HR, So I'm taking care in this, I would call it a nice combo of jobs. So this is my challenge where I'm taking care of to grow it and help the organization grow.
Very well. And how do you ensure that the HR strategy aligns with the business strategy?
HR actually center in the core of leading the organization strategy. The HR administrative is not anymore a role that can add value to the organization or creating an EVP to the organizations. HR has to lead this part. If the organization aim to part of the vision of the organization to build a high-performance organization, definitely you will need to build a high-performance team. High-performance team need to work on a high-performance culture, Yes. At the end of the day, we always say business will not generate a result, People will do the difference. People will do the difference, and require high-performance team, if we become high-performance organization, high-performance team, high-performance culture to work on that. So this is the criteria. Who will do this? HR in the core of this. The same goes for innovation. HR has the responsibility to discover, I always say, the new Steve Jobs in the organization. Who will review talents? Who will discover talents? Who will empower talents? So who will drive a strategy is people at the end of the day. So people to drive a strategy need a good dynamic HR, interact with the people, listen to the people, act in the role in agile mindset, act in the role of strategy enabler, adapting the strategy, and people and employee champions, and change agent.
Yes, definitely. Would it be okay to give an example of maybe, what is one aspect of a strategy that a company might have, and then how human capital can align with that strategy? Like you said, all the resources or...
HR has to wear a different hat in doing and implementing a company strategy, but it's very important to lead the part of the communication of the strategy, in setting the goals and how can we develop a human capital strategy to match and serve that visions,
Yes.
That's something very important to consider. So if we would like to become an innovative company, HR has to go in the DNA of the organization and work on that. Work on discovering the new talents, bringing talent into the organization to serve and the strategy and make the product innovation, the product enhancement, gain the more competitive edge? Who will help the organization to gain more competitive edge in the market, or make a difference in the market, or grow? Definitely people as a result, but who is orchestrating this is HR.
Very true. Very true. So another word that used to be a buzzword is culture. Pretty much everybody started talking about culture in the media and how important it is, especially post-COVID. So if we think about culture, is it really a priority for leaders? And if so, what does that mean? And then is it true that the workforce's attitude will make or break a business? And what does a purposeful organization mean to you as well?
I love this question, by the way. I love culture. I love speaking about culture. Culture is everything. Culture is the king, as we always say, and this is very true, I believe. Culture actually is what gives the meaning of what is surrounding you and how you can tackle a change or a transformations. So if we mean by a cultural transformation or in a transformation of a business, culture is the core of any change. So working on the culture, renovation of the culture is something really key for that growth to happen and to happen in the better shape. So having a purposeful or a meaningful organization culture, we all driven by a purpose, That's something very important. We need to have a shared visions and all that of regard. Before that, you need to understand your cultural code in the organizations. But a key pillar for that cultural code in your workforce is to have we all people having the right setup for them to speak up. It is safe to speak. All we share the same visions and share the same purpose, so we are all driving in the same directions. So that is key for us and for defining your cultural code that will help you to having something different. We always say about a purposeful, shared, driven organization in that regard. Imagine if we have something like, no matter what you will tell your customer about your story, about your content, about your things, your employee behavior will speak louder, okay? We always, when it comes to an example, a life example, when you always go to a restaurant or a place or wherever, whatever first observation, first impression, we always say this is a culture of the place, So regardless of the growth or regardless of things, having this cultural dimension is very important to grow. Sharing and vision of building a purposeful organization-driven culture, that's something, it's a must, I would consider. So we are all in the same. We are reading from the same page. We are heading into the one directions.
Very true. The culture, it's the thing that matters the most. When you think of the HR landscape in Saudi Arabia, how has it evolved over the years? And what do you think the future requirements for HR industry would be?
It's obviously clear we are in this golden era in our blessed kingdom. God bless our kingdom. And that changes with the Vision 2030, and which is a core of a Vision 2030 is the cultural, by the way, transformations. So in that challenges, we have as an HR professionals a very challenging role to play and to participate. I would consider all HR professionals are a partner in achieving the vision objective of the Vision 2030. So the landscape is changing with more change of the Saudi society. We are more dynamic. more young or nations, and toward the shape the landscape of the global landscape worldwide. I think Saudi will start to become now the land of talents, the land of attracting talents for opportunity for all over the people or whoever want to grow or to sustain or to build a career growth. This is the right land or the right place for people to come and grow with. So among these challenges and the facts and the changes and generation entering the market and the vision pillar of building a dynamic society, that there is a key challenges for all HR professionals to have more development, sharpen their access to work and more in doing the part of the HR, but do it in a different way, in matching with the changes of all of this, adapting the more HR tech, more having understanding the young generations. I think this is one of the key challenge. Well, I would consider the Saudi labor market is in hunger for a talent, especially in certain specialized area where it's required. There is a scarcity globally, and there is a need for having people with technical savvy mindset, people with more into AI, more specialized in some industry, and with matching with different competencies. The HR, in short, role is so big to play a major role in leading this changes in the Saudi labor market, which is very dynamic and challenging and interesting to work on that, to be honest with you. We always discovering, and with the match of the two agility, the public sector agility is becoming more high and more competitive and more challenging in leading that change, which driving also the private sector to come up with this driving agility and try to develop and develop more and more to sustain growth and achieving our country visions.
Yes, I fully agree with you. And going more in terms of development, how do you approach talent management and succession planning in your organization to ensure that there's a strong pipeline of leaders that can help make this a reality?
I think everybody dreams of having to achieve the great Jack Welch once said, that in his book, Straight from the Gut. He was describing GE and previous company, that we are a company who has the ability to produce leaders. We are a company has the ability to replace CEOs worldwide in 24 hours. How they reach to this? They have a strong pipeline of talent inside the organizations. So this is a key fundamentals that all HR having the challenge to reach and to achieve, having your talent, your main resources, your most valuable assets inside the organization. People will drive the things. People will make the significant change into that. How would you achieve all of this? Building a succession planning or learning. We need to build a learning organization. We need to adapt a learning organization. And that learning organization is more like a state of mind, adaptation is part of the organization DNA or behavior that will help us to sustain this growth. Learning organization mean that you have a high innovative organization, high compliance culture, high driving performance culture. All of this, when you work and look at your L&D in a different way, look at it with what it could be matched with the changes in this era, So you don't speak in the past, you look for the future, you try to predict the future, try to see things, how you could take the organization to a different levels. That's something very key to sustain this growth, is working on the mindset of the peoples, The most valuable I think, or obsolete 20th century, 21st century skills is the skills to learn new things every day. That's something will keep you in a continuous mood of learning and growth. And that's something where you need to program the organization and people mindset. How to achieve it? To achieve it through having cascading of this knowledge, cascading of this behavior. When the top of the organization, starting from a board, from a CEO or top executive, are leading by example in attending courses, in having their IDPs, individual development plans, okay, and applying that to all levels of the organization, leading by examples. That will make a significant role or impact in having this result of learning organization that will lead you to achieve a good talent pool, achieving this where you could achieve that a company has ability to produce leaders.
Yes, this is very strong, points in what you said. I love what you said about Jack Welch, how they could replace a CEO within 24 hours. They could find, someone who is ready for that role. Whereas now companies, they struggle for months to identify, and they have to go actually externally to find executive leadership positions. So it's important. Companies that do manage to do this and have a strong pipeline of leaders will be successful. What role does diversity, equity, and inclusion play in HR practices, and how can we promote a culture of strong diversity and inclusion?
Diversity and inclusion, and let's look at it as the complete set, as I always call it: diversity and inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and belonging. That's something very important if we look at this setup as a complete set. This is a core of organization growth, a core of any change that we would like to effect and make it effective in our journey for success. Having a diversity and inclusion is not only just for our ESG reporting and we achieving of this. No, this is a real key pillar for a success. If we look at it, if we would like to be an innovative company or an innovative organization or innovative nations, we need to look at this from the dimension and perspective. You need to have people with the different backgrounds working together, govern with a respect for each other, govern with the respect for differences. So you can generate a result out of this. How can we be innovative? Imagine if the impact of innovation. This is where innovation happens, by the way. When you have a different mindset, different background, and people come up with a product innovation, come up with the new ideas. Imagine the flow of ideas in organization with people in different backgrounds. That's something really fabulous to achieve, and you can imagine. In our case of MEPCO, we are proud as a company of having 18 nationalities in our company. We are a 5-generation company. So this diversity and inclusions and our adapting in our strategy, and what we are building on that in our human capital strategy, this is the key fundamentals. The organization has to practice, plan, practice, act, and behave in that dimensions of diversity and inclusions, starting of having in your plan as a key pillar how we would like to achieve in a workforce, how you take it to a talent acquisition strategy, how you celebrate and entertain the value of diversity and inclusions. Once you enable this, once you have this and empower people with different backgrounds, make sure that you are including everyone, the result is fundamental, as we said. But in order to achieve this, it's very important to build an organization with inclusive leaders. You need to have an inclusive leader who will manage this portfolio of diversity and inclusion and lead you to a better results. People, they need to adapt certain levels, and how you prioritize this dimension of diversity and inclusion and equity as one of your core fundamental and core values of organization.
Yes, definitely. Having inclusive leaders does really help to make this a reality, because sometimes, like you said, companies have visions, to have a specific percent of diversity, whether gender or nationality. And although they manage to hire people, it's very difficult for them to retain them because of the lack of inclusive leaders. So then even if they do achieve the diversity, it's hard to make it sustainable if the leaders don't, embody it and become carriers of it.
Yeah, we always say diversity always wins, but diversity alone is never enough. Mm-hmm. Okay, we need to have this setup of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging.
Definitely. So when we think of, another topic that now many organizations, and you also discussed it briefly at the beginning, is how do we leverage technology and data analytics to help inform decisions regarding people in organizations?
In the landscape of this era of AI and the changes coming, where more things becoming digitalized, reshaping our life, become life more and easy, more super friendly, starting from a daily life things to daily work place activities. So we always say data is a power, or data is good, but what make it powerful or make it better is analytics. So that's something very important to build in the new HR mindset. I would call HR mindset is to have a data-driven decision-making organizations. That will help the organization to become more agile. That it will help to take the right decisions in a very accurate way. That will help you to sustain your workplace, where you're making your employee experience more enjoyable, more helpful, more space for the people to practice and to focus on other key things. So this is not a kind of a welfare, having a digitalized system, an employee experience in a digital way, or a different business ERP system. This is a kind of a must in a workplace. So data-driven decision-making is key for any growth of organization, and how we could utilize this in reflect in employee experience, building and strengthening our EVP, employer value propositions. Part of it, by the way, is culture and the working environment. To build a dynamic working environment using the technology is something very, very important, and how we could use this technology to serve the other part, which is people's, So luckily, I'm handling now the both, the people and the technology. So having this partnership in achieving a company result, or building a high, healthy working environment, attracting working environment, is something very important.
That's great. And as we have many aspiring HR professionals that are watching the podcast, I'm sure it would be they would appreciate some insight or tips or advice, how that you believe would be beneficial for those who are starting the journey of being HR professionals. How can we help them to accelerate their journey to success?
Great. I love this question, actually. I don't want to talk about life lessons, but I would speak about the change, our ability, and how we could be willing to change, how we could be willing to learn new things all the way. building resilience is something very important, either for individual or for organizations. And always think, what isn't it for me, and what isn't it also for organizations? That's something very important, how we could reach to building this win-win relationship, the buy-in, which is govern all relationship in the planet, between any two parties. So this is something fundamental, is to have your passion, to fall in love with what you do. That's something very important, will help you to succeed and growth. If we think about, imagine working on something that we're not comfortable with, we don't care about, we don't really like, that's something called stress in the definition. But working on something that you really love, something that you really fall in love with, this is what we call passion. And that's something very important to consider and capitalize on. I always, the first day, and always remember and celebrate my first day at work, where I started my career 22 years back. This is I would consider is my Valentine's Day. If I'm thinking about fall in love with the job and having a passion to what you are driving, it is something fundamental that you need to think all the time about, But again, we always say also, passion alone is never enough. You need to take the key meaning of development of yourself, to work on building resilience, learning from the past, learning from a previous experience, and that's what it will take you to a different level and sustain growth. You always in a mindset of a growth, a growth mindset that will help you to achieving and building this resilience that will help you to sustain in the future and generate more success.
Yes, definitely. Passion is a key success for success, because it helps you to persevere when things get tough. And I think also having someone who can coach a person, the power of coaching. I mean, we know this in the last few decades, life coaching and career coaching became quite popular. Having a coach, whether it's their manager or someone else, that can help them to fine-tune their skill set, like you said, because sometimes we know we need to improve, but sometimes we also need a guidance of where we need to improve, where we need to amplify, where we need to reduce. So that's great. And basically, that's a wrap. The time sure flies fast today. That's a wrap. We had our enlightening conversation with Mr. Man Fatani on uncovering human capital. We looked at the different aspects of people, from inclusion to development to leadership and culture. And basically, we remember that the greatest asset in the business isn't the products or service, it's really the people. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to bringing you more insightful discussions on our next podcast. Until then, keep uncovering the potential in your human capital.
Thank you, Hayfa.
Thanks.